Hey, howdy, hey folks, it is Mrs. Johnson with the Agro-Wisdom Channel. We are doing FFA Lullabies out of Cattle Country Peter French by Giles French. Promise I will get this silly little camera down at some point because it's mirrored. I'm so sorry. Anyway, we just read, today I've been reading a lot of, I just got to the murder, and I'm reading about the aftermath of the murder, so that's been pretty interesting, and I'm going to read this one last chapter before I go to bed, so I hope that last two chapters? Yeah, last two chapters, and we will do that. It's going to be great. I'm on page 115. Henry Miller the Butcher. To a cowman, a cow is a sort of fellow creature that must be carefully tended, provided with proper food and water, cared for in sickness, and kept from emotional disturbances that can make her dangerous. When she is sold, the cowman follows her up the ramp to the freight car with a touch of guilt in his heart. For mere pelf, he is parting with something he liked and respected. To a butcher, a cow is so many sirloin steaks, so many boiling beef, a few dollars worth of hide, and a few cents worth of hair. Butchers can estimate the gross value of a cow at a glance. She is an article of commerce, like a sack of cement or a bushel of wheat. By such standard, Peter French was the cowman, Henry Miller the butcher. Miller made more money out of cows than any other stockman of his time. He came to own stock ranches and herds of cattle, but basically remained a butcher. Miller was a German trained from childhood to be an efficient worker, a hater of waste or laziness. Born July 21st, 1827, in Württemberg, Germany, to parents whose names were Kaiser, he began herding calves for his father as soon as he could walk fast enough. From his father, he learned the butcher's trade. After the death of his parents, the lad made his way to New York. Then he worked in a butcher shop until, by chance, he bought a ticket for California from a young man named Henry Miller, who had abandoned his desire to join the gold rush. Because the ticket was made out to Henry Miller and stamped not transferable, young Kaiser assumed the name on the ticket for the trip, and so fancied it that he used it for the rest of his life. In San Francisco, he quickly found a job, and soon even had a shop of his own. Within a few years, he was making trips into the San Joaquin Valley to buy cattle. In 1858, he formed a partnership with Charles Lux, an Alsatian, also in the butcher business, but Lux was a different sort of man. He catered to and associated with the nabobs who lived in San Francisco's Seven Hills and ran the banks and businesses of the city. Lux could always get money, and when the firm began to buy land in the San Joaquin Valley, Miller needed huge sums of it. The Miller and Lux firm prospered, for it had the income from growing cattle as well as from butchering and retailing the meat. Miller started irrigation systems, built dams, and continued to purchase land till the company owned the better part of the valley. He hired lawyers by the score to fight his continual battles in courts. Importuned legislators, bullied his hard way through many difficult situations, and he won most of the time by hook or crook. Lux stood by, tolerant and helpful, until his death in 1887. A long legal battle with heirs ensued, but Miller finally won. In all matters, his methods were ruthless. When settlers invaded the San Joaquin Valley, the land became more useful for farming than grazing. Miller then looked for new grazing lands. He went to Nevada along the Walker River, where NHA Hook Mason was trying to start a big cattle spread. Miller loaned him the money. When Mason headed north to establish the Quinn River Ranch, he was again aided by Miller, and the 7S brand was put on the tender hides of thousands of calves. Mason went broke, having been too extended in some bad years, and Miller took over the ranches. Miller also lent money to Tom Overfelt, who had some cattle along the North Fork of the Malheur River in Oregon. Overfelt had met Miller in San Francisco while on a cattle selling trip. With Miller's money, he continued to buy and grow cattle until he was killed in 1886. Miller then added Overfelt's outfit to his own and moved into the Harney Basin. Overfelt's brand was LF, with the F backwards. By 1890, Miller had taken over the Todd and Hunter and Devine outfit when that firm was caught in dry years topped by hard winter. Thus, the S. French brand was added to the Miller and Lux ownership. Miller was now able to boast that he could drive cattle from the Blue Mountains of Oregon to San Francisco and stop on his land each night. No one made money dealing with Henry Miller. He was a hard man in a trade. He annoyed his superintendents and foremen with continual carping criticism about minor details of running stock. The stock included more than cattle. Miller also raised hogs, sheep, poultry, and poultry to supply his butcher shops in California. He could estimate the weight of a cow within 10 pounds and determined her value accurately. He used Hereford and Devine bulls on the prevailing shorthorn cows because they wrestled better. Miller could not abide laziness in either man or beast. After he had taken over the Devine holdings in Oregon, he formed the Pacific Livestock Company, which at one time owned the greater parts of the Silvies Valley, but settlers frustrated his desire to own the whole valley, finally forcing him to open some 10,000 acres to them and pay $125,000 to the state for encroachment of swamplands, which wasn't really swampland at all. Henry Miller wanted everything, but if he couldn't get it now, he would wait and plan to get it later. He held no grudges that interfered with business. Small stockmen could use his bulls if they sold him the beef. When Henry Miller died in 1816, at the age of 89, he had amassed a fortune, but he died as he lived, a butcher, not a cowman. Dun dun dun! That's the end of that chapter. I hope you are taking care of yourself and learning and sleeping and reading as my little FFA babies. Without further ado, I'm going to let you go so we can go do some wonderful and amazing things with our life. Okay. Join me for the next chapter. Please. Thank you. Bye.